Nayantara Sehgal, 1927 to the present, was one of the earliest Indian women writing in English to gain wide recognition. Born into a prominent political family, she grew up in an atmosphere deeply connected with India's freedom struggle. Her writings often explore India's political and social transformations. In 1986, she received the Sahitya Akademi Award for her novel Rich Like Us. The account of Mahatma Gandhi's death appears in her memoir, Prison and Chocolate Cake. In this moving narrative, she describes not only her personal grief, but also the sorrow that swept across the entire nation at the passing of Mahatma Gandhi, lovingly called Bapu. On the evening of 30th January 1948, Nayantara Sehgal was at home having tea when an urgent telephone call changed everything. She was asked to come immediately to Birla House. Gandhiji had been shot on his way to a prayer meeting. Stunned and numb with shock, she hurried to Birla House. There, relatives and followers surrounded Gandhiji's body. The room was silent as he breathed his last. Outside, news of his death spread through Delhi like a flame carried by the wind. Crowds gathered silently around the house. From every window, only a blur of sorrowful faces could be seen. An unnatural silence filled the air, as if time itself had stopped. At first, the people were too shocked to speak. Later, grief broke through the silence. They cried, shouted, and pushed forward in desperation to enter the house. Order was restored only when it was announced that everyone would be allowed to see Bapu before the funeral. In their sorrow, the people seemed like lost children. A deep question troubled every heart. What would become of them now that Bapu was gone? They listened in disbelief as the radio broadcast announced to the nation that their beloved leader was no more. The funeral was held the following day. Long before it began, thousands lined the route. Among them was Padmasi, the daughter of Sarojini Naidu, who expressed the feelings of many when she said, "We will walk. It is the last time we shall be walking with Bapu." It was an agonizing walk. Gandhiji's body lay on an open truck covered with flowers. Thousands of people wept openly and struggled to touch his feet one last time. The crowd was so thick that movement was nearly impossible. As Nayantara walked slowly with the procession, she realized that this was more than a funeral. For millions, walking with Bapu had a special meaning. They had walked with him through the rough and smooth paths of India's freedom struggle. Now it was unbearable to think that the man who had led them with courage and faith would never walk beside them again. Gandhiji had traveled across India on foot, staff in hand. To him, walking symbolized steady progress, thoughtful reflection, and close attention to life around him, from the smallest insect to the far horizon. Walking required no wealth, no vehicle, only determination. Gandhiji transformed this simple act into a powerful symbol of dignity and purpose for ordinary Indians. A few days later, a special train carried Gandhiji's ashes to Allahabad. The compartment was beautifully decorated with flowers. People on the train sang bhajans. Though sorrow remained, tears had lessened because many felt Bapu's presence in the prayers and songs. At every station, silent and grieving crowds gathered to pay their respects. Finally, the train reached Allahabad, where thousands waited on the banks of the sacred Ganges. Amid prayers and chanting, his ashes were immersed in the holy river. After the ceremony, everyone returned quietly to Delhi. Back in Delhi, Nayantara Sehgal felt lost. She had not directly participated in Gandhiji's movements, nor had she gone to prison or made great sacrifices like many others. She and other young people of her age had been onlookers. Yet she felt deeply shaken, as if she had grown up inside a protective magic circle created by Bapu's presence. With his passing, that circle seemed to have disappeared. But soon she questioned herself. Had Bapu lived and died for nothing? Could she allow herself to lose courage so easily? She realized that her values were stronger than her fear. Gandhiji had awakened millions from indifference and taught them to care for one another's suffering. Even though Bapu was no longer physically present, his spirit and teachings remained alive in the hearts of the people. India's future rested with its young generation, strong, hopeful, and ready to carry forward his ideals. Bapu had passed away, but the India he dreamed of would continue to live through his children. Thus, in her memoir, Nayantara Sehgal presents not just the death of a great leader, but the awakening of a nation determined to preserve his vision of truth, courage, and unity.